Okay, so let's dive into this. If you think back for a second, way back to when you were a kid, what was that one big dream?
Mm.
The one that just felt shiny,
Ugh.
important. For lots of us, maybe it had like a uniform involved, a badge.
That sense of standing for something bigger than yourself, yeah.
Right. And maybe, just maybe,
Hmm.
it was that crisp blue police officer's uniform.
There's definitely a powerful draw to that image for a child. It's more than just the job itself, isn't it? It's like embodying justice or safety.
That feeling of being a force for good.
Exactly, that fundamental need.
Absolutely. And, well, today we're getting into a really fascinating personal story. It's from a listener, actually an excerpt from her memoir called My Life with a Cop.
Okay.
And our mission here for this deep dive is to really follow her journey because it takes this totally unexpected turn. She dreamed of being a cop herself,
Right.
only to end up marrying one instead.
Ah, okay. So it's one of those stories about how those big early dreams kind of collide with reality
Yeah, and how things like, family pressure can push you onto a different path.
and maybe finding fulfillment in ways you just didn't see coming, connecting with the essence of the dream maybe, but not the literal thing.
Exactly. It's not just the sweet romance, though it is that too. It's really a deep dive into how we handle those what ifs.
The paths not taken.
Right. How do you reconcile that with, the what is, the life you actually have? Because we all have those questions about early dreams, don't we?
For sure.
And this memoir gives a really intimate look at finding peace with that.
Yeah, it really makes you question that idea that a dream has to look exactly like you first imagined it to count as fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. What if the core meaning is the thing that actually matters?
Right.
So, okay, right at the start of this piece, our narrator talks about this really strong childhood dream. She wanted to be a cop.
Okay.
And she admits she wasn't totally sure why. Maybe it was the justice thing, or maybe, like she says, it was just that damn blue uniform that made my heart beat faster.
Yeah. That uniform is such a potent symbol here, isn't it?
Totally. She'd picture herself, badge, serious face, ready for the bad guys.
It's not just clothes, it's the tangible thing that represents that inner drive, purpose, strength, all that.
It's like the costume unlocks the feeling, yeah. But then reality hits,
Hmm.
as it often does, and it comes straight from her dad.
Ah, the parental influence.
Big time. He was completely against it.
Yeah.
Totally against the idea. His reasons were, practical trouble, late nights, danger, stress.
Makes sense from a parent's perspective, I guess. The worry.
Yeah, but there was also this undercurrent, wasn't there? That she wasn't right for it. That she was, too soft for that kind of life.
Ooh, that parental voice, it can be so powerful. It really shapes your choices, sometimes without you even realizing it.
It sounds like it basically just shut the dream down for her then and there. She says she didn't even argue.
Just accepted it.
Yeah, because she knew once his mind was made up, that was that.
And that moment, that feeling of being limited by what your parents think you can or can't do, I bet a lot of listeners can relate to that.
Definitely. So she pivots,
Has to.
right? The badge dream fades.
Okay.
Or at least goes underground. And she starts her own thing, an online shop.
Okay, a different direction entirely.
Selling handmade bags, vintage stuff. She said
Yay.
it's fun, creative. She likes doing it. But here's the little detail that tells you everything.
Yeah.
She admits that the little girl inside still dreams in blue sometimes.
Ah, so it didn't really go away.
Not really.
That's where it gets really interesting then. The path changes, completely cop to creative entrepreneur, but that internal thing, that pull towards whatever the blue dream meant, it's still there, just like dormant.
Exactly. The path changed, but the feeling didn't vanish. And then, life does its thing. The universe seems to decide, okay, let's bring the cop theme back,
Yeah.
but in a totally unexpected way.
How so?
She's just working in her shop, packing orders, and she overhears her mom talking to her aunt. And the phrase that just snaps her head up. Yeah, he's a cop now, works in Florence.
Whoa. Just that one word cop dropped into everyday chat. I must have just instantly zapped her back to that buried dream.
Totally. Like the universe just tapped her on the shoulder. Hey, remember this.
Right.
So she freezes, asks who they're talking about. Turns out it's Nazaryn's son, Danielle. But everyone calls him Danny. Someone she kind of knew as a kid, but he'd moved away.
Wow. A twist of fate, really. Someone from her past, suddenly back in her orbit, and he's directly connected to the world of her old dream.
So what do you do in 2024 when something like that happens?
Let me guess. Social media.
You got it. That night, she can't shake it. Opens Instagram, searches Danielle R., and boom, there's a profile.
And he's in uniform in the pictures.
Yep. Strong jawline, serious eyes,
Okay.
she says, and that feeling of familiarity. His account's private, though.
Ah, the hurdle.
But she hesitates only for a second, then just hits follow.
That click, it's loaded, isn't it? Seems small, but it's driven by that old fascination bubbling up again. It's like the first step back towards that world, but totally different this time.
And she admits she was checking her phone constantly until finally, ting, he accepted and sent a message.
What did it say?
Just, hey, I think you're Aunt Layla's daughter, right? Basic connection. But she says in that moment, holding her breath, she just knew something had just begun.
The bridge is there, tentative maybe, but linking her present back to that childhood thing through the sky.
So they start texting, just the usual catch-up stuff at first.
Yeah.
And then she decides, okay, just put it out there.
Share the cop dream.
Yeah. Tells him, I always want to be a cop, too.
And his reaction.
He sends back a smiley face,
Mm-hmm.
and then nothing. Silence.
Oh, the modern communication pause? After she shares something kind of significant like that, that must have felt like hitting the same wall as with her dad, almost.
Totally. You can imagine her thinking, okay, well, guess that door's closed, too.
Yeah.
She wasn't going to double text, so she just lets it go. But then, just a few days later, life steps in again.
Yeah.
Her mom casually drops, we're going to Grandma's tonight. Oh, and Danny and his parents will be there, too.
No way! Another twist, giving this connection a second chance. But this time, face to face.
And in that familiar family setting, maybe safer somehow.
Right.
So naturally, she gets a bit dressed up, just in case, goes to Grandma's. But no Danny, just his parents.
Aw, a letdown.
She admits she felt a little disappointed, but then, later that night, his mom gets a call. It's Danny, downstairs, coming to pick them up.
Okay.
And her grandpa, bless him, insists, tell him to come up and say hello.
Grandpa come in clutch. It almost feels kind of fated, doesn't it? The timing. Grandpa's little push.
It really does. So, he says yes, walks in. She describes him as tall, sharp, polite, and honestly hotter than I remembered.
Okay.
She's watching him the whole time, trying not to be obvious, but probably failing. He's pretty quiet, though, just sitting with his parents.
Maybe just observing. Or maybe tired after a shift. Could be anything.
Could be. Anyway, as they're getting ready to leave, she decides, okay, this is it, my chance. She pikes up, I'll walk you out.
Bold move.
Nobody objects. So they walk down the stairs, just the two of them, and she asks the question that's obviously been burning inside her.
The job question.
Yep, so. Do you like your job? Being a cop, I mean.
Okay, this is huge. Because now we finally get his take on this world she's been obsessed with her whole life. Adds a whole new dimension.
And his answer is surprisingly honest, especially given how interested she clearly is. He looks at her, takes a beat, and says, it's hard. Honestly, I don't know if I even like it anymore. Feels more like a habit now.
Wow. Okay, think about that contrast. She's got this idealized, maybe romanticized childhood view, justice, purpose,
Right.
And he's living the day-to-day reality. And it sounds hard, maybe draining.
Right.
Reduced to just a habit.
It totally flips her expectation, right?
Yeah.
But instead of being turned off, she actually leans in more. She shares her story then.
Doubles down on her connection to it.
Yeah, says, I've always loved cops, wanted to be one, but my dad was totally against it. And he just kind of chuckles disarmingly and says, you'd probably be better at it than me.
There's a real vulnerability swap there, isn't there? He admits he's disillusioned with the very thing she idealized.
And she shares her own blocked ambition.
It creates this weird kind of bridge between them, not over a shared passion for the job, but maybe over their complicated feelings about it, or their paths.
Yeah, and she describes this pause then. Quiet, but not awkward. Like something unspoken was floating in the air.
That feeling.
Then he just says, it's getting late, take care, okay, and leaves.
That unspoken thing, though, that sense of possibility, even after such a brief chat, it signals something shifted, right? It went deeper than just, oh yeah, I remember you.
Definitely. She's standing there by the door watching him go, and her heart's buzzing. Not with anxiety, she says, but just thinking about something that maybe hadn't even started yet.
She senses the potential, tied up with this guy who embodies the dream she had to ditch.
It's that pull back to the core thing, but it's showing up through a relationship now, not her own career.
Right. A different manifestation.
So days go by. She's starting to, as she puts it, low-key losing hope again. No messages, nothing.
The silence again.
Then she posts a picture on Instagram, one of the new leather bags she made for her shop. And guess who pops up in the comments?
Donnie.
Yep. He writes, that bag looks so good, it should come with a license to carry it here.
Oh, that's clever. That's really clever. He's referencing his world The police world, licenses, but doing it about her world, her bags, her creativity.
It's playful, right?
Yeah.
But also really significant. It's him reaching out, breaking the silence, and he's acknowledging her path while hinting at his own.
Totally bridged the gap there. And what does she say back?
She plays along perfectly. Yeah. Writes back, "You're the cop. Give me the license yourself."
Nice. See, now she's engaging with the cop identity again, but it's different now. It's on her terms.
Exactly. She's not trying to be the cop. She's connecting with the person who is the cop, using the language of her creative space.
Yeah.
It's a great moment where the two paths kind of meet.
Yeah, it really is.
And just like that, they were talking again. But she says this time, it felt different.
How so?
They texted more, yeah, but they shared real stuff. His long shifts, the tough parts, her dealing with crazy customers, childhood memories, sure, but also dreams, fears.
Okay, so it moved beyond just surface chat. They're sharing the vulnerabilities, the messy realities. That's where the real connection starts to build, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then comes this moment that's just really poignant. She's having a bad night, feeling exhausted and down, and he sends her a voice note. Listen to what he says. You know, I always thought being a cop was the only thing I wanted. But lately, I feel like maybe there's someone I'd rather come home to after all the chaos.
Wow. That is incredibly powerful, and it sort of mirrors her journey in a way.
How do you mean?
Well, he also had this single focus, right? The badge, the job. Thought that was everything. But just like her dream maybe had a deeper meaning, his sense of fulfillment is shifting too. He's realizing he needs connection, an anchor. That's someone to come home to that's deeper than just a job title.
She said she literally shouldn't breathe for a second, just replayed it over and over. That vulnerability from him, admitting his own core desire, had shifted from the job to, well, connection. That must have hit her hard.
Yeah, because it validates her own path in a way, and it links their experiences, that shared understanding of how life kind of reshapes what you thought you wanted and often shows you that maybe connection is the bigger prize.
And then just a few days later, they're walking by the river in Florence. You know, beautiful, classic romantic setting.
Okay.
And completely out of the blue, he stops, looks right at her, takes her hand, and proposes.
Whoa, okay, that escalated.
Right. And his words here, they are so crucial. He says, "I know this might sound fast, but I've been looking for peace my whole life. I used to think the badge gave me strength, but now I think you do. Will you marry me?"
Oh, wow. That just sums it all up, doesn't it? He is explicitly connecting that search for peace and strength, things he first tied to the badge, the job symbol, directly to her.
Yeah.
She isn't the badge, but she represents or gives him that peace and strength. The fulfillment isn't the uniform anymore, it's the relationship.
And her reaction just says it all. Tears start rolling and she just nods yes. But the reason she says yes is key. It wasn't just his looks or even the uniform itself. She says it was because, in his eyes, I saw my childhood self, the little girl who dreamed of being a cop, the one who wanted to stand for something.
Ah, there it is. That's the full circle moment. But totally unexpected. She didn't marry the job. She married the man who happened to have the job.
Right.
But in him, she recognized the essence of her own childhood dream, that desire for justice, meaning standing for something. He reflected her own core values back at her. The fulfillment came from recognizing that shared core found in the connection with him.
So when they told their families,
Yeah.
her mom cried, obviously,
As moms do.
but her dad, the one who said she was too soft for that life, he just sighed, she writes, and made this wry comment, "Well, at least someone finally matched your obsession with cops."
That fatherly sigh. It's kind of dismissive, maybe, but it's also an acknowledgement, isn't it?
How so?
He's recognizing that core interest never really went away. It just showed up differently than he expected, or maybe differently than he approved of initially. It's like a quiet nod. Okay, your thing found its path, just not the way I pictured.
Yeah, that makes sense. They had a simple wedding. And her final thought in the excerpt, it just perfectly sums up this whole unexpected journey. She says, "I didn't become a cop, but I married one. And somehow, that little girl's dream came true after all."
It's such a powerful way to end it, because it completely reframes what coming true even means for a dream.
Right.
It wasn't about her wearing the uniform. It was about finding that connection, that mutual strength, and seeing that the core meaning of her dream could actually be found and lived out through a relationship, through building a life together, not just in a job.
So if we trace it back, this whole remarkable journey from the memoir, we started with that childhood dream, right? The blue uniform, the feeling of purpose.
And how it got immediately blocked by her dad's view.
So too soft.
Yeah. Then we saw how that core thing, that desire, it stuck around even when she went down a totally different path with her creative shop. Still dreaming in blue.
Right. And then, boom, the universe dropped the cop theme back in her lap when she overhears about Danny.
Leading to that hesitant Instagram follow, the awkward silence, thinking it was another dead end.
And then the sort of fated meeting at Grandma's house.
Absolutely. And that conversation walking out, that was crucial. Him admitting he wasn't even sure he liked the job anymore, calling it a habit. Yeah, that created the opening for real vulnerability, didn't it? Paved the way for something deeper.
Then the clever reconnect over the bag comment, bringing her world and his together. The talk's getting deeper.
And that voice note. Wow. Him talking about needing someone to come home to, shifting his focus from the job's chaos to human connection.
Huge moment.
Yeah.
Leading right up to that proposal by the river. Him saying she gave him peace and strength, not the badge.
Exactly.
And her saying yes, ultimately, because she saw her own childhood core values, that desire to stand for something reflected in his eyes.
It's such a beautiful illustration of how dreams aren't these fixed things. They're rooted in deeper needs, right? Needs that can find fulfillment in all sorts of ways, often indirectly.
And it shows that complex dance between family influence and your own inner drive.
Definitely. And how real connection often grows out of that shared vulnerability. It really makes you rethink where purpose and strength actually come from.
This story really is such a vivid reminder, isn't it? That life's paths, they're rarely straight lines. And finding fulfillment, it doesn't always mean getting the exact thing you pictured when you were 8 years old.
Sometimes the heart of the dream finds you, but in a totally different package. Maybe through another person, maybe through the life you build together.
Makes you think, doesn't it? What about you, listening right now? If the badge meant strength and purpose to her, and Donnie found that strength and peace in her, what does that suggest about where strength and purpose really live?
Is it just in a job or a role, an achievement, or is it maybe something more dynamic, something that's shared, discovered between people in that connection?
Maybe take a second to think about your own childhood dreams. Not just the surface thing, but what was the core of it? What feeling or value was underneath that aspiration?
And then look around your life right now. How might that core essence, that deep meaning, be showing up today? Even if it looks absolutely nothing like the picture you had in your head back then, where might you be finding it?